about 17th, and to get him in the top 10, you probably got to average about $25 million a year. But they didn't get close. And I got to be honest with you, man, it's one thing to say, I'm unhappy with my contract. Maybe I'm going to hold out or hold in. But this guy went straight to, I want to be traded. And that's a different situation, I think. And it's going to resonate inside that locker room, not in a positive way. Obviously, his teammates are going to be disappointed. This is a fundamental piece of this defense, of this franchise. He's done a lot of great things without much help at times. And for him to say he wants out, that's
from the Giants faithful.
I also like that Odell was out there blocking. He was getting after it. New York Giants, though, they go as Jackson Dart goes.
Yep.
Jackson Dart goes to the blue tent all the time.
All the time.
Jackson Dart at the end of the game said, they're always putting me in this blue tent or whatever. And it's like, well, I think if you get hit and then you lay down in fetal position for a little bit, there's going to be some people that are wondering if you're all right. But the way he mentioned it, I thought maybe he thought that there's a little bit of a overzealous unk. Maybe an unk at MetLife that gets a little bit happy with, let's go check him out so they can grandstand on being healthier than everybody else. I thought that's what Jackson Dart was potentially alluding to. But if you watch this in real time, which I went back and had to watch it, he laid down there for a while.
Yeah.
And I do think the unks probably were like, yeah, we should get eyes on this guy. He's got a little bit of history.
Play safe.
He goes in there, he comes back. He goes into the blue tent in a preseason game, starting quarterback for the New York Football Giants, and then comes back out and plays again. So preseason football, it's a wild decision to make, but I do appreciate that is how Jackson Dart feels about the entire situation. But this is a guy who, just like Jeremiah Love, who we will talk about here literally in a matter of moments, that when we watch him play football, we think there's no way this guy's going to survive. And it feels like he knows that, feels like that's the type of player he is. But if he can stay healthy, he can make all the plays to be great. They can win a Super Bowl. They can go everywhere. But will he be able to survive? I think that is kind of the question. I think he knows that at this point too, Conman.
Yeah, and it was very similar to Drake May, his rookie year, to Drake May's second year. Like, he had to learn how to slide. I think Drake had 3 concussion-type plays when he was a rookie. The thing with Jackson Dart is he doesn't take awkward shots. He takes massive shots. It feels like every time he gets hit, he's getting blown up. He's leading with his head on the sideline.
Third down, coach. I want to get this first down.
It's kind of why people love him, though. This is, he's selling out. This is why you're excited for it. This is another one. Later in the season, you see it's week 13. He's tiptoeing on the sideline, and he gets blown up. These aren't like casual, hey, maybe check on this guy. This is, hey, this dude just got decleated. Let's make sure he's still alive. I think that's the thing with Jackson Dart. But, I mean, you showed his touchdown. That's why it's so exciting to watch him play. He is fantastic when he's on the field.
Jackson Dart obviously has been phenomenal when he plays.
Yeah.
He can run. He can throw. Shit like this is just kind of status quo for him. But when he's running, he does appear to look for contact.
Yeah.
And it's we love him for it, but certainly don't know if it's sustainable. Jackson Dart's story is he's knocked out of games a lot. The stats coming out about the blue tent in a preseason game getting hit like this sucks. We need to protect him. What are we doing? He goes in the blue tent, comes back out onto the field in a preseason game. Is that Harbaugh's doing? Is that Jackson Dart's doing? Like, how do we kind of feel about the Jackson blue tent preseason game situation that we're currently sitting in, knowing that if he stays healthy, you guys are great. If he's not healthy, probably not.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a lot of things that have gone on that has really taken on a life of its own as far as this blue tent goes. I mean, the funny thing is that the one concussion he had last year, he wasn't even taken to the blue tent in Chicago. Everything else he's passed when he's gotten to the blue tent. And then you see the hit that he had the other night. I mean, that was just a misprotection by Tyrone Tracy, the running back. I think the Giants were a little upset that he even had to go in the tent. You understand they want to err on the side of caution. But he was ready to go. He was cleared. And they put him back out there, took one play, and he threw a touchdown to Malachi Field. So it's a slippery slope here now, and Jackson Dart now has this tag. I don't know how fair it is, but I think you can understand why they want to lean on, be more cautious than anything else.
And he can still have another 14, 15-year career where there isn't a problem at all. And I appreciate him. There's been other quarterbacks that have come into the league young, very athletic, want their teammates to respect them, want football to respect them, want to respect football. I mean, we were teammates with Andrew Luck. That guy felt like he was disrespecting the entire sport if he turned something down or made a play end early. And it was just like in his mindset. But there's also guys like Joe Burrow who used to seek out contact, and then he kind of stopped doing that because he understood that, like, availability is the greatest ability. Who knows what Jackson Dart's journey is going to be, but I know I love him because he does that, but I'm very thankful that I'm not a fan of a team that he plays for because it kind of reminds me of the Carson Wentz experience, just with a lot more talent. Okay, at this stage, than whenever Carson was with the Indianapolis Colts. That is how I'm kind of viewing it. It's just a roller coaster. Jackson Dart goes into the blue tent, comes back out and does this, AJ. He's filthy. He's silky. He's throwing a touchdown in preseason to Mr. Fields. Your thoughts on the play? Filthy from Jackson, I thought.
Yeah, like what Dan said, this is Jackson being Jackson here, making plays, obviously, with his feet. Nice little rolling to your left, squaring back up. Beautiful throw, like the arm talent, the athletic ability is off the charts. Like, hopefully he can stay out of the blue tent. I know he's pissed off that he has to go in there every time he gets touched. But, yeah, I mean, things are definitely looking up for the Giants.
We actually looked Rams throughout the entirety of it.
Yeah, but like you mentioned, you're saying, hey, Vita Vea, he'd look great in an Indianapolis Colts uniform. I mean, it was almost exactly a year ago today that the Packers traded for Micah Parsons. So, and they don't do that kind of stuff ever. So if you're one of these other teams that's sitting out there and you hear that Vita Vea is available, don't lose faith. There's a chance. There is a chance. There's a prayer. There's a hope. He could get traded to your favorite team. It happened to me last year, and boy, what a year it was.
Micah Parsons coming to the Green Bay Packers changes everything for the Green Bay Packers. Becomes potential defensive MVP. Gets hurt, then he guys go in the shitter.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's kind of the story of the game. And that's why whenever these early training camp injuries come around, you can't help but go, damn. Sorry to hear that. You kind of get off track before you even get started on this road to Los Angeles. 9-year NFL vet, Darius J. Butler.
Yes, sir.
I see you take the Pittsburgh Steelers helmet off the table there as you're sitting there and move the Yukon Husky one on there. We obviously appreciate the state of Connecticut a lot. Might be visiting there very, very soon, of course. Yeah, to get back up in there. I heard it's good whenever the weather is not negative 20,
Yeah.
Every time we've been there over the last couple of months.
Pretty nice.
It's been fantastic.
Yeah.
Trying to find people that love ball up there. It's an incredible
They're all
thing.
over.
New England Summers, baby.
They're all over. Football, basketball,
Wide.
cross.
Wide.
I mean, any type of ball.
Rowing, yeah, no ball there, but they're certainly You're getting into it. Did this come out of nowhere? How likely was this to take place? And what inevitably happens, you think, Rick?
Yeah, no, I think it was a surprise. I mean, he was going to be a deal that might be a little harder to do just because he's 31 years old. He still has a year left on his contract, but he's underpaid, Pat, based on his production in the league. He's probably about 17th, and to get him in the top 10, you probably got to average about $25 million a year. But they didn't get close. And I got to be honest with you, man, it's one thing to say, I'm unhappy with my contract. Maybe I'm going to hold out or hold in. But this guy went straight to, I want to be traded. And that's a different situation, I think. And it's going to resonate inside that locker room, not in a positive way. Obviously, his teammates are going to be disappointed. This is a fundamental piece of this defense, of this franchise. He's done a lot of great things without much help at times. And for him to say he wants out, that's a big step. I don't know how it ends. We're still a ways to go. He's going to report to training camp, or has reported, from what I understand. So he won't be fined $50,000 a day. But I don't know if there's really any other talks scheduled. Don't know how far apart they were. But this is one that would impact the Bucs defense as much as any player right now that they could take off of it.
Okay, obviously, huge name, huge story in Tampa Bay, across the rest of the league as well. Vita Vea, beloved, I believe, in the locker room as well, right? Is everybody that's come on that we've asked about Vita Vea, they love him. I think he shit talks everybody. I think everybody respects and appreciates him as well. Is this a new era? Because we just saw that you reported that Baker Mayfield was not able to get a deal done with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, so they will halt negotiation in contract negotiations for the rest of the season. There was a timeline that Baker Mayfield's people put on. Don't want to go into camp worrying about this. So Vita Vea wants a trade. Baker's not able to get a deal done. Mike Evans is gone. Levante David is gone. Go ahead, Tone.
Yeah, that you just talked about all four of those guys. All four of those guys are captains. Like Levante was a captain for 10 plus years. Mike Evans, another 10 plus year guy. And then Baker, you assume he will be there, but a captain, and then Vita, a captain. Like, what are the vibes going into camp this year? Are they down in the building, or is this just like a fan base internet thing where it seems like the vibes might be down?
Giants fans, I need you to imagine this for a second. What happens if one of the most physically dominant defensive tackles in the entire NFL suddenly becomes available, and the New York Giants decide they are done watching from the sidelines? Because Vita Vea has requested a trade from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. His contract situation has turned into one of the most fascinating stories in football. And I'm telling you right now, Big Blue should at least be making that phone call. Now, before anybody runs with this, understand the situation. Vita Vea has not been traded to the Giants. There is no confirmed report that New York has made an offer, and this is not a done deal. But come on, Giants fans, look at what is happening here. Vea wants a new contract. His agent has openly suggested that he believes this could ultimately end in a trade, and Tampa Bay's general manager is saying he has no plans to move him. That is a classic NFL standoff. And whenever a player this good becomes even remotely obtainable, 31 other general managers need to start asking one question: what would it cost? And for the Giants, that question should be even louder. Remember what New York did this offseason. They made the massive decision to trade Dexter Lawrence to Cincinnati, turning the page on one of the biggest names on this defense. Then they brought in veteran DJ Reader, a massive, experienced interior defender who has spent years doing the dirty work in the middle. The Giants are clearly rebuilding the identity of this defensive front under John Harbaugh and defensive coordinator Denard Wilson. So now picture Vita Vea walking into that room. Good grief. This man is roughly 350 pounds of violence in the middle of a defensive line. You don't move Vita Vea with one offensive lineman. You account for him before the snap. You change protections because he exists. You send help inside. And when you start sending help inside, guess what happens outside? Abdul Carter gets opportunities. The edge rushers get opportunities. The linebackers get cleaner lanes. And suddenly, offensive coordinators in the NFC East are staring at their play sheets thinking, how are we blocking all of these guys? That is why I love the idea. Vea isn't just a guy who can collect tackles. His real value is the chaos his size and power create around him. He can wreck the interior of a running game, occupy blockers, and compress a pocket right into the quarterback's face. And when you combine that kind of presence with the speed New York wants to unleash around him, we're talking about a defensive front that could become absolutely miserable to play against. And I'll say it with some Big Blue emotion here. If the Giants somehow added Vita Vea to this defensive front, they could terrorize the NFC East. Think about it. Quarterbacks trying to step up in the pocket, Vita Vea is waiting. Running backs trying to pound it between the tackles, good luck moving that wall. Offensive line sliding protection toward the middle, now somebody is getting a one-on-one on the edge. That is how you expose quarterbacks. That is how you destroy timing. That is how you force bad throws. And that is how one dominant interior player can make an entire defense look faster and more dangerous. Now, there is a serious business side to all of this, and the Giants cannot ignore it. Vea is 31 years old. He's entering the final year of his contract, and he wants to be paid. Tampa Bay isn't going to simply hand over a two-time Pro Bowler because New York asks nicely. There would be draft compensation involved. There would potentially be a major new contract involved. And the Giants would have to determine whether the production they expect over the next few seasons justifies that investment. That matters. You don't make a move like this just because the name looks incredible on paper. But here's where I think John Harbaugh's presence changes the conversation. If this organization truly believes it is ready to compete, and if the defensive identity is supposed to become physical, disciplined, and intimidating again, then Vita Vea is exactly the type of player you investigate. Not because the Giants desperately need another famous name, because his style makes sense. DJ Reader already gives New York veteran size and experience. Darius Alexander is another young piece the Giants are hoping can take a major step. Abdul Carter has the type of explosive ability that can become devastating when offensive lines have problems happening in multiple places at once. Add Vita Vea into that equation, and now we're not talking about replacing Dexter Lawrence with one player. We're talking about building a completely different defensive ecosystem. A giant wall inside, speed around it, pressure coming from everywhere, and NFC East offenses having to deal with it for 60 minutes. Man, tell me that wouldn't be fun. But here's the key. Joe Schoen cannot panic. If Tampa Bay demands an outrageous package, walk away. If Vea wants a contract that destroys New York's flexibility for years, walk away. The Giants have spent too much time trying to build something sustainable to suddenly make an emotional move. But if that price comes down, if Tampa Bay realizes this contract dispute is going nowhere, if Vita Vea becomes genuinely available for reasonable compensation, pick up the phone. Because players like this do not become available every summer. And this is exactly the kind of move that could tell the rest of the NFL that the New York Giants are not interested in waiting around anymore. They want to hit people. They want to pressure quarterbacks. They want to make opponents hate playing against that defensive front. Vita Vea in New York would be terrifying. Vita Vea collapsing the middle while Abdul Carter attacks from the outside. That could expose quarterbacks all season long. That front could punish running games. It could destroy pockets. And if everything came together the way Giants fans are hoping for, Big Blue could make life absolutely miserable for the entire NFC East. So now I want to hear from you. Would you trade for Vita Vea? How much would you be willing to give Tampa Bay? And would you give a 31-year-old defensive tackle the new contract he is looking for? Drop your answer in the comments because I want to see where Big Blue Nation stands on this one. And if you believe Big Blue should at least make that call, hit the like button, subscribe to Big Blue Nation Report, and stay right here because we're following every move, every rumor, and every development surrounding your New York Giants.